Hey there, my name is Jesse Lee. I'm the CEO of Brooklyn Solutions. Sometimes the question comes up from across our suppliers. We pull in all these documents and they're valid. There's some of them are certifications, attestations, and to be compliant with whatever our policy, the regulations out there, they got to be current. How do we know? How do we know if our governance, including these docs and maybe some other activities, is current? It's such a drama to always keep up with. It's fine on the way in during onboarding, but then, all right, it falls off. So what are we going to do about that? And that's something that is very common, and just so hence we thought we might walk that through. So it might look like this. Now information comes into Brooklyn in all kinds of ways, right? API connections, bulk upload, one at a time, email stuff into the platform. There's a bunch of ways that stuff like this can come in. And that's what we might see on the left, right? So there is this capability of, we say governance. Brooklyn will digitize your policy for governing your supply chain. And that means you can have recurring activity, trigger-based, event-based, but recurring. So for that top tier, we got to do it every month. For that bottom tier, once a year is fine. You know, all that stuff. This is what we call governance. And that green arrow turning around means the recurrence will just be set for you by Brooklyn. You don't have to worry about it. You can do an ad hoc survey to go call for stuff. You might have pulled out of your contracts or typed in manually obligations. You must do, we must do. And if it's something that's recurring, you got that capability. And you might have things like a contract management plan. And maybe it's not the biggest policy in the world covering everybody, but this is how we're going to manage this deal with this supplier, and some stuff's going to recur. And so Brooklyn is just going to be ready for you to take that and set up a frequency, set it and forget it. So let's look at this. Let's just see, what does it look like to issue a call for, say, a certain certification, get some answers, and then let's just have the lightweight workflow to assess it. It's not like a survey. You just do or do not make time to look it over. We have to have a little bit of rigor, right? Is it good? Is the date good? Is it exactly what we wanted? Does it look right? Okay, good. It is valid. And then how do we know across all the people working across all those suppliers, is it are we in good shape, right? Or do we have any gaps? So that's what we're going to look at very briefly in this one. So let's go ahead and take a look at the software. And we're going to do that as a sourcing manager. Maybe this is someone on the way in getting the certs for the first time, so they're bringing them in as a sourcing manager. All right, so today I'm Oswald Cobblepot. I'm a sourcing manager. And what that means is I don't have the full boat of everything I can do in Brooklyn. It's all customizable, you see. By role, the exact records you're allowed to see and no more. The exact menu sections, the exact menu items inside every menu. So as a sourcing manager, I can get at some good data, orgs, contracts, people. I can do some activities like chase up certs and accreditations, which we're going to do now. I can see a bit of business intelligence, not the whole shop, certainly. I can monitor some things, and I cannot get to that back-end config. That's not for the sourcing manager. Okay, so the point is you've got options. Now let's go ahead and look at how we might go do that. So for that, we might have a survey, and there's something called ISO 27001, right? So this is a call to give us, we need ISO certs from some of, say, a certain tier of, classification of our vendors. So a very, very short survey. Okay. Of course, you can build out surveys to your heart's content. You've got all the capabilities. There's logic. They grow dynamically depending on the questions. And you even have a fantastic capability to specify a Brooklyn action depending on the answer, right? Depending on the answer, you might elect to send a bigger survey or a different one, or create a review item where you'll talk about it, or an action, or risk, or workflow or something. Hands-free, completely automated. All right. This survey has gone out. We have answers coming back, and we've got one back from our friends at We Network. And I could go ahead and dig into this. So it's very simple, and there is some evidence of a certification passed. What we're going to do now is assess with workflow whether this is passing muster or not. We've looked at in other videos how to get right at the running workflow by name or something. Let's just do it a little bit different. So that was We Network, right? Here are my various orgs that we manage. So if I go ahead and search for We Network, as a sourcing manager, I just see a bit of things: the contracts, the people, the files cooking, the policies, right? I'm confident that my onboarding as a sourcing manager, onboarding's gone well because the engine is telling me the state of it. And we'll look at this workflow. So the workflow of a few different kinds was going on. What we have to do now is inspect and approve that ISO cert, right? So we go ahead and look at that. As this workflow fills in, what can Oswald see? Well, he'll see this. He'll see what is this about, right? So this describes what it's about, who's responsible, how often. I told you it can recur if you want. If this has to happen, set it and forget it. This is where you do that. Files that came in, the certification will be there, and then steps. It's just very simple, right? Capture it. So somebody captured the cert. Was that done? Let's look at the files. Oh, yep, there it is. There's our cert. Versioning's handled. Everything's handled nice and clean. And then now we have to validate that it's good. So whoever's responsible in here, in the details for this action in the workflow, is going to validate that that's good to go. And it's just a super, super lightweight way to do it. And we've got our confidence that the work is underway and nothing's going to get. And so the last thing I said was, yes, but how do we, if we helicopter up a bit, how do we know that across all these orgs that we're in compliance? How are we going to look at a bunch of them at once? And one answer is this thing we call governance milestones. You got to govern these things. The milestones tick over. You got to do them over and over. And this is a really powerful part of the platform. This takes you out of the game of having trackers to do that annoying, always chasing up work. So in this one, if we have a workflow that is called a contract management plan, and we might have a bunch of orgs that participate, and We Network is one of them, and we got to do a lot of things, right? We have to make sure that these are top tier suppliers. This bit over here are all instantiations of workflow that do different things that are of a common type. They fit into a contract management plan. And we might have to review contracts. We got to do due diligence. We have to have an exit plan. Oh, look, we have to have an ISO cert. And we got to do other things. We have quarterly business meetings, etc. And so these colors are not typed in by people's fingers. It's the state of the workflow. I showed you a workflow, like check out the cert. Is it good? Is it on time? Is the work done fast enough? So this says BitTech is in compliance and We Network is in compliance. But Anytech, nope, they're running late. Who's running late? Well, this workflow kicks out action. So I clicked on this button here. And this will show you like this is compliant. This part's overdue. There's my Anytech that's overdue right here by 8 days, it looks like. So what I'm doing with this report across all this sort of compliance related work is I'm just kicking off the work. You got a certain length of time to do every step. Doesn't matter when it starts. Clocks are running on all those little tiles. And it's either done right or it's done wrong or it's running late. And then the person and group in charge of this wants to get out of the orange and fix the reds. And they don't have to track anything. They just let the work run and let the Brooklyn digitization of all this stuff run. And you get to sort of watch the orchestra and shore it up where there's challenges. And it's just an entirely better, different way of working. And that might be why Brooklyn will have every customer telling you, and multiple case studies telling you, the power user works at least twice as fast, covers at least twice as much. And this is partly why. All that work happening, all those suppliers submitting, you just check boxes in the product and you get roll-up reports that are very powerful like this one. So I hope that gives you some collecting certs, documents, and tracking compliance in Brooklyn. For more information about the Brooklyn solution or for a personalized demo, please register your interest on the website or, of course, reach out to our team. And be sure to follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn.